Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pernigo, and I am bringing you one more replay between TopRamen and Krankendau. This is going to be a map, a replay on Sigma XY, and I will use this as a PSA to please, Shambler, fix the fact that your map has a slash in it, thus creating a new directory. Alright, Krankendau and TopRamen are playing, and they are both a bluish tint. But hey, this is Cosmonarchy, where we have over 100 player colors. So when the colors are like this, I guess it's just intended. Wink. No, I believe this is actually a replay bug, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know if this is how it rolled. That being said, we've got our Zerg in the top left. It is Krankendau. He appears to be Dark Sapphire? Hey, all right. And in the bottom right, we've got TopRamen, who to me looks like he is Cosmic Cobalt. There we go. All right. Off to a good start. I usually struggle with those colors, so wanted to throw that out there. Now, this is a map that apparently has, I don't know why player 8 or whatever has this, but these are neutral hostile, perhaps, infested treasuries for lore reasons. Now, we are going to go for a Larvosk opener here for Krankendau. No surprises there. Looks to me like he'll be running in and going for the pool. Yep. So still believe in the pool. I believe in the pool. I like the pool. These changes, the changes to faster expansion timings and stuff like that, those are live in this replay. So I'm excited to see how that one ends up going. The Scout Mason, after the Fulcrum opening for TopRamen, is going to come on down. We did end up rolling back the changes that we made experimentally to reduce the costs of the Fulcrum, in terms of it being 175 minerals instead of 200, and in terms of the Stockade being 125 minerals instead of 150. So those are out, but the time cost did get reduced by 5 seconds. So it's still a little bit cheaper in terms of time. You wait a little bit less long to get your production up and running. I don't think it changes too much about the very first unit, but it does make future adds a little bit more expensive and slows the production rate of other combat units, right? So you got to factor that in as well. It looks like there's some heckling happening to this poor Larvosk, but it's okay. Ramen will continue to heckle it. That being said, we are going to see 3 pairs of claws be made. That's going to be more than enough to deal with the first vulture that is already off and running. And this kind of faster pool style that I think I saw Luai do first, but who knows which Zerg came up with it first, is very, very good for, delaying the incoming attack of your opponent just a little bit, making it so that they can't really do too much damage. Like, those mines are going to get put down, and I don't actually believe... Well, if Krankendau was on the ball, he could have sniped those, but they do all end up getting down, which is credit to Ramen there. He picks off the Droleth Scout, and he's going to rally forward additional vultures. Still testing out that early aggro, and straight into the Goliaths. Okay. So Goliaths, in my opinion, are absolutely OP, but that opinion is not shared by too many other people. In fact, 0 people that I have asked about Goliaths have ever said that they are OP. People who I have not asked about Goliaths have said that they are OP, but those don't count. Land some more mines down. No casualties just yet. Burrow in the Wounded Quads is not a bad idea. I think when you see this many vultures, it might behoove you to go for some kind of move into Hydras. I guess you could technically do Zorkas, but I feel like you want to take your expansion a bit sooner. If you see this kind of mech committal, though, I think Hydras end up being pretty good. Frank believes in the Vornath Pond. We'll see what he can muster up as far as a response to that. I think, like, Hydra Quaz is super, super brawly and can definitely stand toe-to-toe with Vulture Goliath. So that's sort of my thinking. But the Vornath will help if you go some Vorvs and you start rending the armor and reducing the attack rate of the Goliaths. It'll significantly hamper their DPS and let Quaz try to engage them a little bit more. Their armor, their damage is only going to be being reduced by 1 armor instead of by 2 armor. It's a very, very big difference. It's going to be Vornath into Zorkas here for Crank. He's going to stay on, obviously, 1 base. He is being contained as we speak. I wonder if you could go for a hatch into something else. I feel like maybe this map is not going to be the map for it, but you could maybe try to do a hatch first on a map with a larger rush distance. That's kind of an interesting idea. Pulling a lot of Zeths and a lot of Orvs in the back here. Zorka Shroud about halfway complete. Remember, there's still a couple of mines over here. There are 4 Goliaths. Big stun there. Only going to affect some of the Terran army, but that is going to be enough to let the Zerg get on top of them. Don't discount the Goliath's power, though. Only some of them are being Vorved. Okay, now it looks like they will end up being forced back, but I think with a little bit less self-stunning, those Goliaths could have been eaten up. Atroth's going to drop at the natural just in the nick of time, and we will indeed have Ramen in trouble. Going to drop an anchor. His ministry is not on location. Third Fulcrum coming online. His Goliaths are starting to fall away, but it looks like the Vorvs might be able to catch them. No, maybe. Hard to say. I think you actually have to focus down the Vorv so you can escape. But unfortunately, he changes targets on one Vorv to try to kill another Vorv, and that does not go in. Look at Daedrid's Goliath corpse, by the way. Updated Goliath corpse, courtesy of Daedrid. Shout out Daedrid. The homie. A couple Cyclops are in the house. Trying to lay the mines. They will actually pop, but all of them are gone already. Still, it stops the Zeths from just descending. Shambler is some bizarre, insane color. I don't know what that is. All right, we're going to have to see what the Ministry ends up doing. It's just going to make Masons right now, not going to lift. He wants to see if he can stay alive. Honestly, this Zeth Vorv dive is pretty scary, but I think the Cyclops and the Anchor are going to be able to do just fine. It looks like all the Quas ended up getting cleared out, and that allowed the Vultures to start moving around again. Very, very big news that the Vultures end up surviving, because they can go ahead and try to pressure some more units out. That being said, Crank is making a Lakis. He has been known to make a Lakis or two. He's got a couple of Zoryus on the way down. And it looks to me like, you know, he was concerned about a potential Zeth flood in response. That's not going to happen. The Ministry will land. Going to go ahead and secure some kind of economic foothold. He is down by 10 workers. Zerg is stretching ahead pretty significantly, economically speaking. The Vulture's continuing to rally around and see what's up. All right, well, the Zoryus, in my estimation, are going to be able to hold the vaults, but the Cyclops will help them out, and of course, if we do get more Goliaths coming at any point, that's going to change things. Oh, look at that. Just charging right on past. As soon as you see the Lakis, I think you need to fall away, but he picks the Zoryus. Not bad at all. He's going to see if he can manage the worker count a little bit. Unfortunately, he is not going to be able to kill... Oh, he kills 2 workers. All right. Loses a lot of Vultures for it, but he kills 2 workers. That's not that crazy amount. He does have Trojans for his Cyclops. Okay. The one thing I don't like about losing the Vultures there is you don't know if your opponent has moved out. So this could be a very big risk of Ramen's. He's also going to drop another Ministry to try to expand. He's still only on 3 Fulcrum production. He does have a Star Pad, obviously, because that's where he got the Trojan from, but not using it for any combat purposes. Now adding a Stockade, presumably going to go into maybe like Goliath Cleric or something like that. Try to boost the armor that he keeps getting rended by the Vorvs. And let's keep watching this Trojan. It is moving up into the northern strip of the map. The Cyclops moving in to try to pressure at the front. Not a bad idea to kind of push Krankendau towards the little upraised platform there. He already has a Quas and has had a Quas there for a very, very long amount of time to try to catch that Trojan, but he hasn't seen it yet. It's going to be going after his Larvosk. They're actually switching gears a little bit. I think they were targeting a couple of different Larvosks at the same time. He will pick 2. I suppose that is 250, you know, Vespine, so it's not nothing. But unfortunately for him, he does not keep enough Cyclops alive to kill any workers after the fact. The Nathrakors did get hatched, and some of them did end up getting killed, but the Trojan was claimed in the process. Third base liftoff, heading in that direction. Vulture guarding the third for Krankendau as well. He's just confirming nothing in the bottom left, where there's a Nexus. There's Nexus, Ministry, Treasury, Treasury. Interesting. All right. If you say so. And they're all infested because Zerg here. Anseal for detection. Very important for going up against the Lakizilisks. The minefield is going to slow the advance of Krankendau a little bit, and also telegraph the advance to boot. Nobody says to hoot. Oh, look at that. There's an add-on that was canceled. Interesting choice. He wants the lodestone at the other base. Nobody's used the neutral assets just yet in this game. Ah, ridge capping time. Okay, Krankendau going to go up against a Terran that is getting a bit more Vespine under his belt. And Crank, on the other hand, he's keeping his gas stacked. He actually didn't remake the Larvosks. That's an interesting choice. He's going to take his third base, and he's going to be teching up as well at around the same time. Let's see where he ends up placing it. Right now, he's just ordering his army. Oh, fourth base at the same time. Okay, that's pretty dangerous. But right now, I mean, Krankendau is going up against a Terran player who is just overall going to end up being more economically, shall we say, in the high stakes area, and in the boosted region, in the 1%. Okay, Iral Iris on the way for Krankendau. What does he want to do with that? I've seen some theory from a lot of Zerg players. Like, we like this, we like that, but we don't like this, we don't like that. I think right now, looking at this, going up against Mass Goliath, Tathalor does sound really good. Tathalor does 15 damage. I don't think they have any armor pen, but that's 12 damage a hit. So they 22 shot a Goliath, and actually it's a little bit less than that. It's probably like 20. And that doesn't sound like an impressive number, but you can make 20 of any unit as Zerg pretty fast. So just saying, if you wanted to try to range them down. Goliaths do struggle at range. Only now are we going to see the Palladium add-ons for the Fulcrums, and it looks like there's going to be a bit of a bio switch. These are probably going to be Covenants? Yeah. So looking at that, I would say Ramen is going to be going into like Eidolon, maybe some Savant, and then of course Phalanx. But he's in a transition point right now in his army. And his army itself is not exactly in the best of positions to try to contend with this Zerg push that's coming in. Now, a drop on the Cyclops is going to hit home. The Terran army now coming on in from a prospective 4th base location. Going to do their best to see if they can hold this attack. There's 2 Goliaths in that lodestone, which is going to be a surprisingly potent amount of enemy firepower for Krankendau to deal with. How has he responded to the drop? It looks like the Cyclops are still alive. They are going to get some value out. Meanwhile, the army engage is good for Krankendau. He dives onto the Goliaths, using his Hydras, using his Zoryus. Even at his Zyzerocores in full melee range to get maximum bounces. And now, I mean, if you're in this situation as TopRamen, you still have all your mining bases. You set up a treasury top right. You've shut down mining in the main base for our Zerg player. But your army just got absolutely shellacked. What do you do in this situation? Well, the Lakis does go down to some errant fire. The Savants are trying to step a bit closer as well. The lodestone provides detection. Those Lakis are not going to get anything done. Even if it didn't, the Mason was actually in a perfect position to start passively decloaking them by standing on top of them. Passively revealing them, I should say. And yeah, it's going to be Mass Savant, Hurakan Cleric, and of course Phalanx. Abandoning the Goliath entirely right now. This opens up the room for Bactylisks to really make a big difference. This Mason transfer will get caught by the Zerg army, though. That's going to be 12 or 11 Masons going down. A little unfortunate there for our TopRamen Terran. I don't know which path he's taking. Oh, yeah. Indeed. I think that Sigma XY did get this fixed soon after this game. Well, unfortunately for Krankendau, a lot of his front line just got chewed out. The treasury lifts up to reveal the strange collection of Nexus Ministry in the corners. Watchdog lifted off. Going to be heading out for scouting missions. 6 Tethzoricores, 10 Bactylisks. We so rarely see the Tethvith Swamp. Ah, the treasury lands and a single Zetrocore will tear it down. TopRamen is holding on right now. He's making another ministry for his 4th base. Remember, Krankendau has had 4 bases up for quite some time. I actually love this cheeky Lakis positioning because the larva mass up here and block targeting of it, even if you have detection. Look at that. Droleth getting stunned as he tries to take a 6th base. Or 5th base, rather. I guess it's 5th and 6th at the same time. Krankendau is like that. But technically, that one came first. So that is the 5th at the top. Big Zerg move. Honestly, the Phalanx count is scary big right now. And the Hurakan count, not so much, but is it enough? I mean, those Tethzoricores are drawing a lot of fire. A lot of the siege tank fire, a lot of the Phalanx fire is doing so much splash damage to your own army. They are still going to clean house, and not so many Phalanxes end up dying. A couple of these pinched off units is this 5 Bactylisks and a couple Tethzoricores ended up roving on through. They pick an ant seal. They delay the construction of this ministry. Not going to get too much economic damage. And actually, this does put Krankendau in a bit of a pinch. Obviously, his tier 2 has been finished for some time. He's only now going into the Mutath Spire. I don't think you should be dissuaded from the Bactylisk move by how poorly that army performed. I think a large portion of that was the fact that the Bactyls weren't targeting down the Phalanxes, and even when they were, a lot of their damage was being, because there was no focus fire or low focus fire in that fight, at least as far as I saw, the Shamans were out healing a lot of the DPS. So a lot of Clerics died, a lot of Harakkans died. In fact, I don't see any with the army. There's one with the army. No Clerics at all. So it's just Shamans for healing. This next fight could swing so heavily in favor of Krankendau that it will surprise some of our viewers. Let's see what happens. A couple of workers are going to get caught in translation. That's just more bodies for TopRamen to have to deal with. They are going to go ahead and splash down some of these forces as the Phalanxes deploy. Where are the rest of the Zerg forces? It looks like maybe there weren't so many ready to go. He's got a lot of Quasilisks. No, he did not want to continue it. Didn't have the gusto. So much so that only TopRamen shows up in the score screen. Tisk, tisk. I wonder if that is actually a map-specific bug, because people were talking about that, and I think I did see it in a recent game, and I think it was also on this map. So, well, anyway, that's a wrap on the ever-loving, ever-lovely Sigma XY that makes all the replays called Y.replay. Great. And you know, Krankendau, I will say, if he had doubled down on the Bactylisk, he would have had a much better fight that one, right? There was no Shaman presence there, like the army was not moving in sync. He was trying to go in for Lyrilisks, it didn't quite happen. I feel like he was a premature GG. I don't know if you guys think that, but losing out on, you know, not even actually losing any bases yet. There were 6 bases that he had. Obviously, he didn't have full saturation on the upper one or the lower one, but he had more eco than his opponent. And he had better tech than his opponent. So all he needed to do was get some time to build up an army. And sure, he didn't have his army at the perfect time because he was scaling his production as well and his base count and stuff. And he would probably have had to sack one full mining base and maybe one satellite base that was just getting set up. That still would have left him an even keel or better with TopRamen. So just wanted to point that out. Next time we see Krankendau, I hope he gets a little bit further along. We'll be back tomorrow for more Cosmonarchy.